All right, so we're grabbing Indy, about to put her on the trailer and take her to the vet to do an embryo transfer, hopefully. We have to flush Cool. There has to be an embryo to flush, and then we'll put it into Indy. Indy has not been on a trailer since I got her a couple of years ago. I have no clue how she loads. I assume she loads. This could be interesting. I have no clue. Hi, Mama. Come here, Mama. Let's go get your friend. She's been by herself for a couple days because Cool's been at the clinic. I've got the trailer all hooked up. Truck is warming up. I'm a little late per usual. I think I would shock people if I was on time. And a lot of people have asked me, well, you had a baby with Cool 2 years ago or a year ago. Why aren't you breeding her for her own baby? Because you love her babies, and I do. But Cool is 20. We don't know if we're even gonna get another year of breeding her after this. So we're gonna try to get 2, and Gracie is too small to carry Cool's baby because Cool's rather big. So it lined up since Indy had a miscarriage and was open that we could sync them up and use Indy. So while Indy has beautiful babies, they're not quite as sought after, not quite as proven as Cool's. So we're just kind of taking advantage of the situation, and Indy could have her own babies in years to come since she's younger than Cool. Come on up here, darling. And here I was worried that she wasn't gonna load. You're such a good girl. Come on. Get your booty up there. And just in time. Almost got me. So luckily my vet is always late too. So I texted him, I was like, we're on our way. I'm sorry, we're being a little late. And he's like, I'm not even there yet. You're fine. And so we're about to pull in. We're here in Thompson Station. We use Tennessee Equine Hospital. We've used them for so long. They're great. So Cool's been here for a few days. She had a little bit of fluid retention after we bred her. And so they thought it best to flush her multiple times a day, and that was just easier if they had her at the clinic. So we brought her here, I believe, Monday. So today is Sunday, so she's been here like almost a week. And she could have come home a few days ago, but we decided, it was just easier to leave her here since we were bringing Indy her over on Sunday. So about to pull in and unload Indy, and hopefully Dr. Matthews here and we can get started. We'll start out with Cool because they have to flush her first and find the embryo if there is one, which I'm praying that there is. We've done this a couple times, but I've only ever been a part of the embryo transfer once, and that was last year with Beyonce and Gracie. So I'm still very much learning about this topic, and it's so interesting to me. So let's go. We'll leave Indy on the trailer and we'll go check in real quick, let them know we're here, and then we'll get started. She loaded really good. Probably gonna bring her off straight. This one, the only time I've ever seen her get off of a trailer was because I got her from a kill pen in Oklahoma. And so like this rickety trailer with like 7 kill pen horses on it, they brought it me from Oklahoma, and it was interesting. But want to turn around? Good girl. This is Indy. She had a baby last year, and then she miscarried kind of midterm. Yeah. Come here, baby. Oh, you gonna get some hay? Hi. Oh yeah, it's me. She was like, oh, I know you. Hi. I know. We didn't get rid of you. You just been here for a little visit. You'll come home today.
Let me put it over here. How many bags do you have warmed up?
I have these 2 warmed up of this brand, and then I've got 2 more in the lab of another.
All right, she's gonna need it. Probably 3 because their uterus is so big. Give me one more breeding syringe if you would. So we're just gonna take a look at her uterus with the ultrasound and make sure it looks favorable. Mm-hmm. We'll take a look at that ovulation.
Because if it's not, I'd rather just let her like try to hold it rather than messing with it.
Right. Well, she shouldn't have any fluid in there right now. It should be nice and tight, and that's what we're looking for.
Would it be better to sedate her if she's acting like that?
Yeah, we may give her a little bit. I really need her to be still when we start flushing her. But
yeah, I'd sedate her.
We'll give her some. We bred her a week ago Friday. Okay. We bred her with a low dose, deep horn insemination on the right side, and she ovulated Friday night. She was not in great heat. She had no uterine edema. Her cervix was soft though. And she had quite a bit of fluid on Saturday. So we lavaged her for 5 straight days to try to get the fluid under control and get her uterus good and healthy so when that embryo drops down, it has a chance, to survive. So you got about a 5-day window to get it done before the embryo drops out of the uterine tube into the uterus. What I'm feeling for now, I want her cervix to be nice and tight, and I want her uterus to be dry and look healthy. So that's her left ovary. She's got a little follicle there. And her uterus is that circular structure. And that's where she ovulated. She has a nice CL. See that white right where the cursor is? Mm-hmm. All right, Katie.
Yep.
So she's got no fluid in her uterus.
That's good.
She has some what looks like either air. You see all those white specks?
Yeah.
It's either air or mucus. But no fluid, and the ovulation looks good. So, I would put it in your court whether you want to go ahead with the flush or.
At this point, let's go ahead with it if all looks good.
Well, other than that, the specular reflection I'm seeing.
Because at this point, if there's an embryo, and I've got a healthy mare to put it in. So
I would say, if her uterus is questionable, and there's an embryo in there, it has a higher chance of dying if we leave it in there than taking it out and washing it and put it somewhere more healthy.
Right. Yeah, because she's good. So let's do it.
So the fluid's going to go into the uterus, and then it's going to come out of the uterus and go through this port here and filter through this little screen. And any debris or the embryo is going to stay at the top. All the extra fluid is going to come out of the bottom.
We've done an embryo transfer a couple times, but I've only been there for one of them, and it was last year, so I'm so interested in learning about it.
Hold that for me.
How many embryo transfers do you get in a year?
We do probably around 20. So not a ton, but enough to keep us busy doing it.
I'm trying to convince him to start doing ICSI, and he said no.
Yeah, I've maxed out my time spent on the back end of a horse. I would love to hire a theriogenologist who has that interest to come in and start that program. It'd be great. Yeah, that's flush media.
Okay.
Usually I just use air, but when I'm doing embryos, I use the media in case that bulb ruptures. It doesn't put a bunch of air in their uterus. You're good.
How much do you want in
All of it. So the first bag I run in, I just keep my hand
Love
in
you,
there
bye.
to make sure there's nothing leaking around the cervix. I get that uterus good and distended, and then I'll let it flow out. And then the second bag, I'll bring my hand out and go in rectally, and I'll get pretty aggressive about blotting the uterus while it's distended in case that embryo is stuck in a fold or on the wall of the uterus. Try to knock it loose, and it'll come out.
Are embryos pretty resilient when you're doing this?
Yeah, the younger they are, the more resilient they are. So we freeze them at like day 6.5. You can flush up to like day 8, 8.5. But they get big, and they get too big to come through the tubing after about day 9.
Yeah, because that's what we were talking about. If this didn't work, possibly flushing Trudy, because she was a day ahead of Cool. So we would have had to have waited till 8 for her.
The cuff is just past the cervix. We're probably going to put, if I don't get a good flow, I'm going to put a little bit more in. So let's switch. Instead of getting too aggressive with the tube, I don't want to aspirate any tissue from the uterine wall.
Embryo transfer, this is only my second one.
Okay.
Technically, we've done a couple others, but I was not the one like
It twists.
facilitating it and
So if
stuff.
you twist this,
Breeding-wise, I've
twist that,
been
it pops off.
managing our breeding since
No.
2020.
Okay.
But we've bred forever, like my parents and stuff did before I was even born. But as far as on this level, it's just been 3 years.
So usually I'll flow, I mean, she's got a bigger uterus. She's 20 years old.
Almost like
Usually on a mare that's younger and hasn't had a whole lot of foals, I'll do half a bag, 3/4 of a bag, and flush in, flush out.
Right.
I mean, this is like dumping into a big vat, and it just kind of stays. So I'm trying to develop a little pressure so we can get a siphon going.
She can
When
just
she
see.
starts to get uncomfortable and distended, she'll start wiggling a little bit.
And there goes the fluid out, and that filter's going to hopefully catch an embryo. Yeah, the first time we ever did an embryo transfer, she had twins.
Yes. There's a third bag of flush media. To your right.
If it's in there, Doc.
Okay, I'm gonna fill her back up. Go ahead and close your lid and close your bottom. Is that all the fluid out of this bag? Going down? All right, let's put that second bag in there.
I asked him, I was like, what would it take for you to come do this at my house? And he's like, no, absolutely not. It's like,
As soon as I come out there, I'll have forgotten something. Y'all putting a heater above your stocks?
if you will do embryo transfer at my house, there will be a heater above the stocks.
I'll have to see the stocks and the heater.
Like last year we did it, and she did fine,
Yeah.
but it just makes me so nervous. Like if we hit a big bump or something like that, and she's had a baby win the world in the Western riding.
Keep an eye on that level.
And then she's had an SBA world champion in the 100 saddle. So she's had like both, depending on who she's bred to, because she's so big. And then, so yeah, we do, like we start them out in the pleasure in the under saddle and then go on to do like trail and Western riding and all around and stuff like that.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I love it. So we have like our little tiny mares
This is the
and then
best
our
flush we've had.
big giant mares, a little bit of
Coming
both.
out quick. Go look through our fluid here, and if we don't find anything, I'm going to come back and do one more flush and be very aggressive.
Right.
But I like to look before I'm too
I'm really
aggressive.
hoping in like 5 minutes you're like, got it.
Me too. Do a fertility dance. All right. Now, the embryo should be in here. Usually it settles down to the bottom, so what we're going to do is we're going to put it into a dish where we can look at it under the microscope. It shouldn't be in those bubbles, but we're going to drop the bubbles in this primary dish, and we'll make the bubbles go away. This is called washing the filter, or rinsing the filter. So if it was stuck on the bottom, we still have a way to capture it. And just kind of backwash this filter too. And there's a little fluid on the cap, so we'll just kind of rinse this cap out. All right. So we got a secondary dish here, we got a primary dish, we got a lot of bubbles. So we're going to wait for a second and just give these bubbles time to go away. And we'll come back and look at it in about 5 minutes. So I put it in the exhaust fan of that microscope light, and that just kind of gently blows across the surface of that dish and makes those bubbles go away instead of me trying to aspirate them with a syringe or with a little semen straw. So I'm going to turn the light off and let it sleep and give it a second. You can see, I mean, we got a moderate amount of debris at the bottom of this dish. You know, if there was some maturation delay, it'll be smaller and harder to see. So I've got it zoomed out, just kind of doing an overview, trying to see if I can see a big one. But what I'll do is if I scan the dish and don't see a big one, I'll start to zoom in and look for a small one. Then I kind of have to sift through all the debris. I do not see a real big one. An 8-dayer should be easy to see. Usually when you have one in the dish, you find it fairly quickly. All right, so what I'm gonna do is just give it a swirl in case it may be hiding underneath a little bit of debris. Just let it sit for a second. I'm gonna look at this other dish. And this is the dish we rinse the filter. So the heavier particulates like urine crystals and heavier debris will be in this dish because we kind of washed off the bottom of that filter. We'll give that a look. Hey, will you tell them to warm up one more bag for me? So I'm pleased with the amount of debris. It's not too much, given what we were dealing with the first 3 days after we bred her. So she cleaned up decent. Just not seeing an embryo yet. I'll go back and look at this primary dish. And the more you get zoomed in and the harder you look, the more things that are not embryos start to look like embryos. You just kind of start scoping everything out. Let's put another bag through. I'm almost inclined, the times we give her Lulai, she shuts down. I'm almost inclined just to watch her.
Just let her
Yeah.
naturally.
Yeah. Just watch her.
They did not find an embryo with the first flush. So they're going to do it again, which I just asked him, I was like, have you ever found one on the second flush? And he said yes, but not super often. So there's still a chance. I'm sitting here praying. But if she's not pregnant and there's no embryo, she has follicles right now, and we could breed her fairly quickly. And if it was by the end of March, it's March 19th today, if it's by the end of March, that's probably a really early March baby. So that's not bad. We'd probably just let her carry it instead of doing the embryo transfer, just because we don't want to risk it. I don't know. We'll make all these decisions after we have like a definitive yes or no, but that wasn't as easy as I would have hoped it would have been.
Ready? Okay, go ahead and give her that. So we're giving her a little oxytocin so she'll express all the fluid out of her uterus. All right, you ready?
She had a big baby last year. That must be why. He had so much room to grow. But she just popped him out. He was out before we got down there.
I would just say I'm a horse doctor.
I would have said, yeah, I just have my arm up a horse's rear end most days.
Yeah.
I feel like that sums it up.
During the spring, you can see it on the ultrasound. When I move the tube, I'm moving that little bit of debris. I've almost got the bubbles out of that dish. You just got a little island in the middle. So you can see, if you look at this dish, this is not I haven't looked in the secondary dish yet. Mm-hmm. This is the primary dish. You can see the little debris,
Yeah.
which is just a moderate amount. It's not too much. It's, perfect amount is you just see a little bit.
Right.
So it's not enough for me not to be able to tell.
Right.
So it doesn't look too bad. I just don't see an embryo in there.
Right. Well, I was getting nervous, but then I went and looked at all like the dates of right now because I was thinking we were getting so late. But if we breed her on this cycle naturally, she'll probably still have a late February baby because for some reason our mares never go to full term.
Yeah,
Because-
and another thought about the luteolice and not giving it to her. I mean, there is a chance that their embryo is in her uterus and I didn't get it out.
Right.
Or it's delayed and dropping out because she had so much inflammation.
Right.
And it's taking it a while to get out of the tubes and down into the uterus.
Which I don't mind if she, carries.
We need to check her regardless. I mean,
Since we're not giving her
so we're not giving her
luteolize.
luteolize. We need to check her at the end of the week.
Okay.
And see if she has one in there. And help me remember, she's got that cyst. It looks
Right,
just
it
like
looks
a
18
15.
days.
Today it looked like a 15-day.
Okay.
So what I'm just waiting for these bubbles
I am going to
to go away.
reach out to the second stallion that I was going to use.
Okay.
I want to give us a little better chance. I'm going to talk to my mom about whether we want to use Indy for Beyonce or if we're going to just breed Indy for her own baby. Because if we leave Beyonce open where she doesn't carry this year, then we may, try for 2. But also we don't want to get so late in the season, so I'm not sure. But if she had her baby in the next couple days, we'd still be able to hopefully breed her by like the beginning of April. And then that would be an early March baby.
There's a lot less debris in this second flush. I think we got it all out in the first one. So I looked at it from like a higher view. I'm going to zoom in and just look at each little particle individually. When they're big, you can see them quickly. I'm going to look through here one more time. This is the primary dish, secondary dish, and then this is the rinse. So I'm going to look through these 3 one more time and maybe we'll get lucky.
I'm thinking I might have been using all my luck up lately.
Why's that?
I don't know. Things been going good. So maybe I've just been using up my luck. So this one, they're going to make it a little harder on us.
She's 20.
She's 20.
The older mares too. I mean, when you breed with frozen semen and when you have older mares, if you're successful, those embryos tend to mature a little more slowly too.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like you said, we'll not give her luteolize and check her at the end of next week and might get lucky. I'd say with her situation, that's more likely than some other mares, but it's still not,
It's a possibility. It's happened to me before. So most of the time, it's not a bad thing. Sometimes it is.
Right. Which with the timing, I wouldn't mind if she just carried it. And the other thing is, too, it's so hard to match her and Indy up because they're so different. Their cycles are so different.
Oh my gosh,
usually. So
Cool's
it's
like not. Yeah, Indy's clockwork and Cool's
right.
all over the.
And it's like, that would be so hard to try to sync them up again. And I don't have, now that I bought that other mare, I don't have room for a recip.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll have to make the decision since we're leaving Beyonce open. Like, are we going to just breed Cool? Breed Indy because I have a rebreed for her since she lost the baby? Or
Since you're leaving Beyonce open, you're not breeding her?
I don't know if we should. What are your thoughts on that? Because she's not, like, extremely sound. So it's like,
Beyonce?
yeah.
So you're worried about her carrying another baby from a soundness perspective?
Yeah. She's the easiest breeding and foaling and taking care of her baby mare we have, but she aggravated that deep flexor injury again last year when her foal was about 4 months. So we went ahead and weaned it. And she's been on like stall rest and then got better, and then she broke out of her stall and went romping around and did it again. So then we got her on stall rest again. I moved her yesterday and she's like pretty much as sound as she gets yesterday, but it just worries me breeding her again and then like I don't know. She aggravates it so easily.
How many babies in a row has she had?
2019.
And how old is
Through.
she?
12.
I mean, giving her a year off wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yeah. So I'm kind of thinking reusing Gracie as her recip since we're not going to let her, if we decide not to let her carry, and that would give us the chance to back her up next year.
But
Like you said, we're not going to give her Lutalice. We'll check her next week. We're still checking that one mare on Monday, and maybe my horse will still be pregnant for her full alert.
which mare are we checking on Monday?
The 2-year-old,
Oh yeah.
the roan, Ginger, seeing where she's at. And then hopefully I'll have that other mare, and we can check her and get her going quick. Should I tell them to take her off Regimate before they send her?
Yeah, if we're gonna breed her, take her off.
Yeah. Breeding season can't be easy. This is maybe after this, everybody will get pregnant.
And it's never easy and always emotional.
Yeah. And expensive.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, is it a discount if we don't find an embryo?
Oh my gosh. Should be a discount if we do find an embryo.
I'm not really losing too much hope about her this season, because even if we check her and she's empty next week, hopefully we can get her bred again quick, and that'll still be a pretty well-timed baby if she takes. But
Yeah. And she's got some follicles that are coming on, which is good. That's been an issue in the past.
I'm very curious. I mean, that might help
that.
us. That might help us in the future if we figure out that she just does not respond well to Lutalice.
An embryo is a little bit lighter and perfectly circular. When you find one, you know you got one. It's awesome.
I know. I remember
Very,
last year.
very
It was
satisfying.
Really cool. So, when you say you flush one and it's twins, because I've seen where people will separate them and put them in two different mares.
Yeah.
It would be because it's already fertilized, right? So it's like the two same sires. You couldn't. We're not doing. Yeah. I just answered my own question.
Yeah, she had no edema.
And also her age. She's 20. So there was a whole lot of factors saying probably not.
And the edema factor, we keep talking about that, but you want them to be in really good heat when you breed them. That way they can evacuate all the excess dead semen and any fluid
And that was her
secretions.
problem, is that she didn't have that
Yeah,
ability.
she accumulated that. Now, there was some debris, like you remember, since it was a centrifuge sample, I don't know if you remember that syringe, the way it was sitting in that box, you could see the actual debris on the bottom of the syringe, and we had to pull air back and
Yeah, I remember that.
kind of mix it up. So, we're blaming it on her mostly for not having edema, but it could be partially blamed on some excess debris in that semen.
We're gonna do a separate. I mean, you know what we could do? I mean, it's still pretty early. We could attempt to line her and Indy up, and if it doesn't work, just breed Indy like we did last year.
Yeah, we hadn't hit April yet. April's prime time. But I'm done.
Yeah. Well, shucks. So we'll check that 2-year-old on Monday and hopefully put a full alert in. Hopefully she hasn't had it by then. We were just seeing how you were doing Holland. That's what we were doing. Come here. So while we did not find an embryo, there are a few factors that make it a little more complicated than just saying, oh, Cool's not pregnant. One being her age, so she's 20. So sometimes older mares, embryos will develop a bit slower. And so if that's the case, it might have been too small to be flushed out. Usually after an embryo transfer, they will give them Lutalice, which is a drug you give them to bring them into heat. And she has seemed to shut down when we give her Lutalice in the past. So we are gonna let her go through her natural cycle because she did have some follicles. So with that being said, if there is an embryo in there, we're gonna check her at the end of next week to see if A, she's ready to be bred or she's already bred. So there's not 100% chance that she's not pregnant, which is exciting, but also could be a letdown. So even if she is, we're not doing an embryo transfer with Indy anymore. With Cool, she will either carry the baby if she has one in her, or we will breed her and just let her carry it. But we may still use Indy as a candidate to use for Beyonce. And I say we're not gonna use her for Cool. I don't know, there's so many factors that go into it. I would have had a very firm plan had this all worked out, but since it didn't, there are a few things that I have to make decisions on. So I guess I'll just have to let y'all know when I do. Let's go home, baby. Alrighty. Loaded up, that was very easy. Now let's go home. We're gonna take them back here and let them be outside for a little bit before dinner time. Let them de-stress a little bit. But as an overview, Cool did not have an embryo to transfer today. Now, there's a small chance that she is pregnant. Since she has an advanced age, she's 20, there is the possibility that when we bred her, her embryo was slow forming. So that would mean that it was too small to be sifted through and come through the flush. So what we're gonna do is we are not gonna give her Lutalice. Lutalice is what we would have given her to help bring her back into heat to breed her again. Now she has a couple of follicles, so without us giving her Lutalice, she will either progress and be ready to breed by next week, or we'll check her and she will be pregnant. So one of those two things is gonna happen. Whether we're gonna do an embryo transfer with her and try again, I'm not sure. I had that decision to make. I will let y'all know when I know. But yeah, if breeding was easy, everyone would do it. If this is the worst thing that happens this breeding season, then I'm in luck. I'm bummed, but I'm not like gonna cry over it. It happens, and embryo transfer is tricky. But yeah, I'm gonna let these girls have some time out together, and if y'all have any questions, please go ahead and comment those below. Like, subscribe before you leave. It helps me out more than you know. And I look forward to showing you the rest of this journey, because it is not over.